Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The important news and editorial that would be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 2nd of August. The first important news, that is, what can amended Forest Conservation Act change? Already I have made discussions to the Forest Conservation Act, but we'll try to understand how the changes will make the difference. Second, that is project to capture and store carbon dioxide emission. Third, that is All India Tiger Estimate Report, the latest report which was released. Second last, that is center update on pending Manrega wages to the state. West Bengal is the state that has the highest pending. We'll see the details about other state as well. And the last is an editorial, the danger in the digital personal data protection bill. This particular editorial criticize and find out the downside of the digital personal data protection bill. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further ado, let's get started. And before I begin this session, if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do hit that like button. So starting the session with the first news, that is what can amended Forest Conservation Act change? This is important for General Studies paper 2. That is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementation. Right? This particular news is also important for General Studies paper 2, where government, basically paper 3, where conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA is mentioned in the syllabus. So the controversial Forest Conservation Amendment Bill passed by the Lok Sabha with a limited debate awaits for the discussion in Rajya Sabha. Right? The bill aims to restrict the conservation scope and exempt the border land for strategic project and allow some areas in the non-forest activities. I've already made a detailed discussion about the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill. Do check it out. You will find more detail from there. The bill was introduced in Lok Sabha in March. Thereafter, it was referred to JPC, that is the Joint Parliamentary Committee, comprising 32 members of both houses of the parliament across the party line. So in JPC, what is there? Different members from different parties are included to give an unbiased opinion on a given topic. Now the bill restricts the scope of the act. How? Because the bill stipulates that only those land which are notified as forest under the Indian Forest Act of 1927 will be recorded as forest in the government record and will be acknowledged as a forest under this act. This is what actually the provision has been mentioned. Now this revision stands in stark contrast with regards to the wide applicability of the extended act at the present. So Supreme Court की भी कुछ judgment है इसमें. 1996 Supreme Court has reiterated about their broad applications, and it is to say that the forest include all land such as government record regardless of ownership as well as the deemed forest. The court had also stacked that state to undertake an exercise to identify and notify their own deemed forest. But even almost 30 years, many states are yet to complete their exercises. Now, exemptions for the broader infrastructure. The bill seeks to exempt the linear infrastructure project like road, highway from seeking the forest clearance permission if they are located within 10 kilometers of the national border. And the expert have raised concern because जो strategic linear project है for the national highway, it is again for national importance. और कुछ unidentified terms रखी गई हैं that can be misused through the infrastructure project that has a devastating effect on the local economy. The border exemptions where necessarily required for national importance should be given permission, otherwise it should not impact the part of sustainability of the environment. JPC has flagged concern. JPC, that is a Joint Parliamentary Committee. The bill was not referred to the relevant Parliamentary Standing Committee for scrutiny. So JPC did not propose a single change to the bill and proposed despite receiving the objections from the tribal group which reside in the forest area, some of the environmentalist and conservationist, the environmental laws activist and the citizen group. The sixth member of the JPC itself wrote the dissent note and they have categorically highlighted the downside of this particular bill. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs has also raised concern about the amendment that implicating the part of community right that is enshrined in the Forest Right Act of 2006. Now, moving ahead, that is project to capture and store carbon dioxide emissions, something important for General Studies paper 3, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. So recently, the United Kingdom government has reaffirmed its support for the project to capture and store the carbon emissions as a part of efforts to the net zero emission. So every country is committed to achieve the net zero emission. If you talk about India specifically, India ने recently पंचामृत के initiative में net zero emissions की target 2070 रखी है. For many other countries, they are different. For 2060, 2050, that is also there. But UK government has reaffirmed their support जहाँ पे वो जो carbon capture emissions हैं and even for the net zero emissions, they're working towards it. Now, what is carbon capture and carbon storage? This is something statically important for prelims examination. You can even get some of the question in mains part as well. So there are two types of carbon capture and storage. First is called point source carbon capture and storage, which actually capture the CO2 produced at the sources. So whatever might be sources, you can take the example like smokestack, where direct air capture removes the carbon dioxide and that has already been released into the atmosphere. This is one. The other part that they have been both designed to capture the emissions from heavy emitting sectors, which can be these sectors. This include the oil and gas refinery, steel manufacturing, and even store them underground off coast in Britain depicted in the oil scat field, right? So these are some of the possible areas where high emissions take place. And carbon capture, utilization and storage, instead that just storing about the CO2, reuse it in the industrial process such as plastics, concentrate and biofuel manufacture. This is what we call it as a carbon capture, utilization and storage. Now, how the thing work? What are the process? Firstly, the CO2 has to be separated from the other gas produced in the industrial production during the power generation. So this is a process that is mandatorily required. Once it has been captured, it can be compressed and transported through the storage via pipeline, and after that it has to be injected into the rock formation underground. Typically 1 kilometer की average लेते हैं, where more than under the part for the ground is taken, and this has been in process for a decade. Now moving ahead, All India Tiger Estimate Report. This is from General Studies paper 3, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. Now, the latest All India Tiger Estimate was released and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change ने कुछ important findings भी बताई by WII. So as per the report, this is 1/5 of the tiger spanning for the 16 reserve, harboring only 25 or less than 1% of India's tiger, which is currently at 3682. In all, there are 53 tiger reserve, which is concerning the combined area of 75,797 square kilometer, right? So these are some of the factual information. If you are able to recall, it's well and good. Now, reports की कुछ finding की अगर बात करें, net gain populations में बात की गई है. The latest quadrilateral AIA report said that the total gain of 715 tigers over the previous estimate were there, and the national count shows that the shrinking of the range of the tiger since 45%, the tiger are concentrated in the other set, और 16 reserve ऐसे हैं जो कि account करते हैं roughly 1/5 of the tiger area. Now, for some states, the news are not that good. And even if you see the part of state like Jharkhand, it has only one tiger recorded. Odisha, Chhattisgarh have the state, an area in the northeast where actually what was anticipated was not there, right? Now, even some of the states or some of the area like Wayanad, North Karnataka, Jharkhand, Goa, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram and Nagaland has not been performing well when it comes to the part of the total conservation and even the total number of tigers. Now, the largest tiger reserves की अगर बात करें, this is there in Madhya Pradesh with 785, followed by Karnataka, that is 563, Uttarakhand 560, and Maharashtra 444. These are the number. This is relevant. You can recall this for the prelims. This will help you out. The tiger are abundance found in the tiger reserve in the Jim Corbett, that's 260, followed by Bandipur, Nagarhor 115, Arvnagar, that is 134, and Dudhwa, that is 135. Now, these are the other part and the data that is there in the newspaper as well. So, where these numbers are there, the area has been specifically mentioned, and according to that, the percentage chain is highlighted in this diagram. Now, moving ahead, Center updated on the pending Manrega wages to the state, something important for General Studies Paper 2. That is welfare schemes for the vulnerable section of the population by the center and the state government. So, Ministry of Rural Development ने कुछ important highlights दी हैं in the Parliament. They have come up with these submissions and said that it has owed 6,636 crore rupees under the part for the component under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme to the states, right? A total of 14.42 crore active Manrega workers are there, and most of them are dependent on the wages, supplementing their families' income. One of the part where 2,770 crore rupees is owed to the West Bengal only. सबसे ज़्यादा जो numbers हैं वह West Bengal से pending की आ रही है. Now, payment block for non-compliances, the government has said that this is not intentionally done, but कुछ non-compliances की वजह से payment रोकी गई है. So, invoking the part of Section 27 of the Manrega Act, सेंटर के पास ये पावर है कि वो कुछ अमाउंट को ब्लॉक कर सकती है, एंड सेम दे हैव अप्लाइड इन केस ऑफ वेस्ट बंगाल. द गवर्नमेंट सेड दैट bearing the part of West Bengal, there is no pendency for more than 5 months and the wage distributed for Manrega worker has started. After the West Bengal, the highest amount for the wage which is owed to Rajasthan, उसके बाद जो दूसरी स्टेट जिसमें सबसे ज़्यादा अमाउंट पेंडिंग है, that is 979, then Bihar 669. See, there can be a political angle to this as well because these are non-BJP ruled state, but we are not concerned on the part of the political angle. We are having a neutral view and we are writing as a civil services aspirant. तो आपको neutral view में सारी चीजें देखनी है. The center has been pending the payment under the wage component of a total 18 state and union territories. Section 3, subsection 3 of the Manrega, the disbursement of the daily wages shall be made on the weekly basis in case not later than fortnight, and this will something that will be done. This is what the government is also coming forward. If you look at the part of the wages that is pending, so as I've told you, West Bengal has the highest number, followed by Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Nagaland, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Odisha, and then Assam, Haryana, Ladakh, and Puducherry. So the total liability is this much. So this can vary, but these are the current data that we have. Now, there's a domino effect that takes place. What is a domino effect? So, domino effect is an effect which lead to some consequences which is related to it. One after another is known as a domino effect. So, delay in the material part of the component leads to the domino impact and affecting future projects. When there are continuous delay in the material component project, the local vendors even delay the things and they have the reluctancy in they will break the cycle and the continuation of the work will not continue. The material component payment, the center owes 2813 to the West Bengal, followed by 77 to the Uttar Pradesh and 634 for the Karnataka, right? So these are the numbers. Now moving to the editorial of the day, the danger in the personal data protection bill, something important for General Studies Paper 2. That is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. So what are the issues under this editorial? Before that, the theme and the focus of this article is about digital personal data protection bill. Some of the issues is like do not repeat the error, threat to transparency and accountability, objective of the data protection laws, no autonomy, and the conclusion part. If you look at the part of personal data protection bill, this is a bill which was withdrawn by the government many changes has been incorporated to ensure that the stakeholders' grievances are taken into consideration. तो जो framework बनाई गई है, it is something paramount important to comprehend and understand the applicability and its function, why it was actually made, right? The Government of India has a series where it has released the part of where the vision of digital economy was actually envisioned. उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने डिजिटल इंडिया एक्ट भी लाई, and this replaces the IT Act of 2002, right? 2000 actually. तो ये काफ़ी पुरानी एक्ट है जो कि अभी तक चली आ रही है. The government is all set to introduce the digital personal data protection bill in the parliament. So do not repeat the mistake or error. This is what has been highlighted in this article. This article has a critical angle to the bill. So it says that it is imperative that the data protection law does not suffer from infirmities and the previous draft that safeguard people from fundamental right, but both the right to information and right to privacy. The Data Protection Bill of 2000 include the provisions to amend Right to Information Act, which has empowered millions of Indians since its enactment in 2005. Now, to effectively hold government accountable, ये ज़रूरी है कि एक democracy में people need to assess the information, including the part of categories of personal information. So RTI has something exemption on this part, which has become a concern. I'll just give you the highlight on that as well. So threat to transparency and accountability, this is what I was talking about. So the RTI Act include the provisions to harmonize the people, and RTI के थ्रू कई ऐसी informations हैं जो ज़रूरत की information है वो ली जाती हैं, and the individual right to privacy should not be abrogated with the part of the changes that is there, right? So personal informations की बात करें, it exempt the disclosure of any non-relationship with public activities and has no relations with the public interest. तो उस तरह की चीज़ों को RTI के दायरे से exempt करने की बात की गई, which is again not under the spirit of democracy, right? And even अगर आप बात करें BN Shri Krishna committee की, so it has also highlighted that there should be the part of data privacy and it should not hinder the part of the right to information. And even if you see जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट है KS पुट्टास्वामी के राइट टू प्राइवेसी की बात वहाँ पे भी की गई. The bill proposes the Section 81J to expand the purview where all personal information from disclosures are there. The threat are the very foundations from the transparency and accountability regime in the country. Now, what are the objective of the data protection law? How it has been actually worked upon? So the primary objective of the data protection law is to curtail the misuse of the data protection. Government of India has given that the biggest data repository, अगर बात करें सबसे ज़्यादा repository अगर किसी के पास है, this is with the Government of India, right? And effectively data protections की जो discretionary power है वो भी government के पास है. So the one who is having the most data is also having the discretion, will conflict of interest तो वहाँ पे आनी है. Unfortunately, it empower the executive for the draft rule, notification of the wide ranges. The central government can exempt any government or the private sector with the applications and provisions by the law merely issuing the notifications. This would potentially allow the government to arbitrarily exempt its cronies and even the part of the unique identification में हमने जिस तरह से देखा था कि कई ऐसे सिटीजन के प्राइवेसी के इश्यूज और वायलेशंस नोट की गई. Now they need to have an autonomy and this bill criticize that autonomy की भी issue है जहाँ पे एक adequate body बनाने की बात की गई थी which will be looking to the part for the grievances. So the autonomy for the data protection board should be there and this institution should be responsible for the enforcement of provision of the laws, right? तो ज़रूरी ये है कि जो एक पर्सनल डेटा है उसके लिए critical oversight legislative process हो and even the violation should not be there by any entities. The central government is empowered to determine and strengthen the composition as well as the process for the selections and removal of the chairpersons. The chief executive is responsible for managing the board and would be appointed to have a direct control over the institutions. The creation of totally government controlled part of the data protection board empowered the fine up to 500 crore rupees and this is bound to raise the serious apprehension. Why? Because it feels that this can be misused and even government is inclined to take or not, that has to be decided upon the board which will have some role and even government की कहीं ना कहीं influences board में भी देखी जा सकती है. तो autonomy और एक ऐसे institution बनाने की बात की गई है which should be independent in its function. Now to conclude the part, the National Digital Personal Data Protection Bill signifies the milestone for protecting the individual privacy right and regulate the data practices While the executing vastly empowered the rule as a notifications on the range of issues, India might end up with the laws take up a right to seek the personal information, right? So we have to maintain a balance where right of an individual are not impacted. Privacy की बात करें, that should be also there, and even the fundamental right as a right to privacy is pivotal. तो ये सारी चीज़ों को ध्यान में रखते हुए एक ऐसी रेगुलेटरी बॉडी की बनाने की ज़रूरत है जो कि ग्रीवांसेस को भी एड्रेस करे. Now moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct option is D. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. With reference to the viral spillover, consider the following statement. Spillover is a transmission of a virus from one reservoir species in which habitually create the host. It is increasing the climate change in the Arctic lake sentiment. Right? So do check out for the correct option. The second question is about the CCI, that is the Competition Commission of India. It was established under the Competition Act 2002. It acts to interest as the watchdog for the part of the abuse which is there for the positions of the company in the market. And it's a market regulator or not, and how does it maintain the healthy competition? You can read out further about the Competition Commission of India. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other queries about the classroom program, admissions, test series, or anything related to the courses, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching.